Good evening. You're watching Sunday Express on KBC Channel 1, being the 22nd of October 2023. What is the fate now of 2,500 youth who had been recruited ahead of El Nino? Now that the Met Department and President William Ruto says, well, we were not going to be experiencing El Nino but significant rainfall. Then, KCSE candidates are going to commence sitting for their national examinations come the 23rd, which happens to be tomorrow. Are we ready? Well, only two subjects will actually matter in as far as their grading is concerned: mathematics and English. This and so much more coming up on Sunday Express. But first things first, the highlights. The rains are coming, but
nimesikia wale watu wamesema tena ile El Nino haitakuweko. Wamesema kutakuwa tu na mvua kubwa, lakini haitafika pale ya kuharibu.
Time to put pen to paper. It's all systems go as Form 4 candidates begin to sit the 2023 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examinations. And Go Kenya Go. Keep Biwot Kendia and Margaret Chilimo secure a Kenyan double at the Valencia Half Marathon. This is Sunday Express. I'm Regina Manyara, and my colleague and sign language is none other than Madam Anne Wangeshi. Let's proceed. You can get us on our social media platforms, including Twitter at KBC Channel 1. Now, President William Ruto says there'll be no El Nino rainfall as earlier predicted by the weatherman. The president, while addressing congregants at the church service in Dagoretti South, Nairobi County, said the new prediction by the Meteorological Department shows only significant rainfall. This is despite counties setting aside monies for El Nino preparedness, including Nairobi, which had already enlisted more than 2,500 youths to clear the city's drainage system.
President William Ruto on Sunday departed from the weatherman's prediction of the country facing El Nino rains.
Hata juzi mulisikia tukawa na habari pengine kutakuwa na El Nino ambayo itaharibu kule, itaharibu mali ingine. Lakini Mungu ni nani? Mmesikia wale watu wamesema tena ile El Nino haitakuweko. Wamesema kutakuwa tu na mvua kubwa, lakini haitafika pale ya kuharibu.
The president, who attended a church service in Dagoretti South Nairobi County, said the country will instead face significant rainfall as updated by the Meteorological Department.
Na hiyo mvua nyingi ambayo tutapata, pia tumejipanga katika hii short rains. Tumepanga pia wakulima watuzalishie chakula tena, so that we have another harvest by January or February.
Huyo mama mboga, huyo mtu wa bodaboda ambaye ndiye mwenye serikali, gharama yake ya NHIF imeshuka kutoka 500 atakuwa akilipa 300, as you promised, Your Excellency, during the campaign.
Your Excellency, we laud you for the efforts that you're doing to unify the country. When this country is divided, we as the people of Nairobi feel the heat.
Kenya is now not on the cliff again. You have been able to stabilize our economy. Mr. President, actually in this year of 2023, beyond the other problems we have in the economy, Kenya was actually the 29th fastest growing economy in the world.
However, county governments had set aside millions of shillings for the mitigation of the effects of the destructive El Nino rains. This includes Nairobi County, which unveiled its El Nino preparedness plan on September 11th, comprising of 3,500 recruits dubbed Green Army to assist in the unclogging of the city's drainage system. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission had raised a red flag of possible excesses by the counties in the management of El Nino. EACC warned counties against any attempt to loot public funds under the guise of El Nino preparedness. President Ruto has in the meantime warned that the government will double down on land cartels across the country.
Ati pale mahali tumeweka nyumba ya DC, tumeweka ofisi ya CDF, tumeweka sijui makanika wako pale na kiwanja iko pale. ati kuna mtu anataka kugrab hiyo shamba. Si pale Kasarani siku ya swearing in, si kuna kitu nilipatiwa? Mnafikiri ni ya kukata mboga? Si ni ya kufyeka hawa wakora? Ndio wafyeka kweli kweli.
This comes amid the demolition of houses that were built on government land in Mavoko constituency of Machakos County. Give us in minor, Sunday Express.
Now that statement by the president in regard to where we are in as far as matters of El Nino seems to have actually quelled a lot of questions among Kenyans, especially within Nairobi County, who've been wondering with the high temperatures that we have been experiencing. Well, significant rain and not El Nino. The government has cornered cartels in the coffee industry and foiled plans to frustrate the ongoing reforms in the agriculture subsector. This is according to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who says the government's decision to pay coffee farmers an advance of 4 billion shillings and invite global coffee dealers to directly buy Kenyan coffee are some of the strategies that thwarted plans of the cartels.
Kitu mzuri watu wengi wanatamani, na hapo katikati kuna wale wenye wivu. Wenye wivu wajinyonge. Kwa hivyo kwa hii serikali yetu ni kuombea Rigathi Gachagua na William Ruto, maombi dua kwa Mwenyezi Mungu awasimamishe, ndio kamati ya roho chafu, kwa Kiingereza wanaita haters, wakae mbali sana na serikali yetu, ndio hawa wazee waweze kufanya kazi.
Kule Tharaka Nithi tumeshikilia Deputy President sana kwa nguvu sana, na tunashukuru kwa ile kazi nyingi anafanya ya kutuunganisha sisi kama watu wa mlima.
Sasa walikuwa wametengeneza jama ati ndio tuachane na mabadiliko, wanakataa kununua kahawa. Wakae naye ati ndio tuachane na hiyo mabadiliko, na walifanya hivyo mwaka wa 2019, serikali ikaigiza baridi ikawakubalia kuendelea. Wakafanya hivyo 2020. Sasa hii tumesema hakuna. Kama mtaki kununua ni sawa. Tumetafuta pesa ya serikali 4 billion na tuko na ingine bilioni 2. Sasa tunapanga vile hii pesa itafika kwa mkulima direct.
Azimio leader Raila Odinga has criticized the newly launched Universal Health Coverage Initiative, saying it will add more tax burden to Kenyans. Speaking during a church service in Kericho County, the Azimio leader also criticized the handling of the Mavoko land row. Tilio Marco has the details.
Juzi mnasikia tunazindua ile mpango ya matibabu. Alafu hiyo sasa tena vile vile inaletwa ushuru mwingine. Na hiyo vile vile inaletwa bila mpango yoyote.
Jukumu ni la serikali, hata sio Portland, kuona ya kwamba mipango imefanywa. Kama iko mazungumzo baina ya Portland na wenye kumiliki, ni serikali ingesimamia hiyo mazungumzo.
A section of politicians allied to the United Democratic Alliance in Luo Nyanza is urging their colleagues in the Orange Democratic Movement to give multi-party democracy a chance in the region. The group says people must be given the space to chart their political course for the sake of unity and development. Wycliffe Okech with the details.
The leaders who spoke at Anomia Church service in Kisumu were reacting to a Saturday incident in Rangwe constituency, Homa Bay County, where violence briefly disrupted an economic empowerment forum driven by leaders allied to the government. The incident was, however, contained. The leaders condemned the incident, terming it retrogressive politics.
Stone throwing in political parties. It is not only the Luos who know how to do it. We saw it in Turkana as a lesson. That if you bring this heckling, stone throwing, and violence and intolerance in Luo land, it will spread everywhere and you will be consumed.
The leaders urged their counterparts in the opposition to give political democracy a chance if the region is to benefit from the government's development agenda.
As a community, we have been in some political slavery for so long that even now when we have this space, some of us still don't know how to make up our minds without hiding in a corner or without explanation.
Information, Communication and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo called upon the youth from the region to embrace the SACCO concept for collective growth.
There is a feasible development plan for Nyanza. That plan entails revitalization of the sugar factories. You have seen already the president has already waived all the debts of the sugar companies.
Owelo once again reiterated his plea for the region to embrace the Kenya Kwanza administration for unity and development.
We have no choice but to work with the government of today. The time for elections is over, and the president has stated many a time that he's going to serve all parts of the country, irrespective of the voting patterns that we witnessed during the election.
When we are doing the development, bringing ships, building ships here, it's something that should be seen that the government is looking for ways and means of creating employment and raising revenue.
For Channel 1 from Kisumu County, I am Wycliffe Okech.
The government has assured Baringa County residents it will deal with runaway insecurity witnessed lately. Cooperatives Small and Medium Enterprise Cabinet Secretary Simon Chalugui gave the assurance in Kabarnet a day after a National Police reservist was shot dead in Kiserian, Baringa South.
Hile NDR vijana tumepewa kutulinda, hawa wakora wamekuja wameua na wamejeruhi mwingine. So I want to send you waziri with humility to your colleague CS Kindiki. Please inform him that the bandits are recruiting again. Let them mobilize the force that they are mobilized before, atusaidie isiende mbele vile ilikuwa.
Na mimi nawaidia watu wa Baringo kwamba tukishikana na yule mwenzangu waziri wa usalama Profesa Kithure Kindiki ambaye ni mtu muungwana, kwamba tuangalie sana, tusiachilie mapema hii mambo ya kushikilia usalama katika Baringo, sababu inatia watu wasi. Watu walikuwa wamerudi kwa mashamba, wamerudi nyumbani, lakini hii mauaji ambayo ilifanyika hivi majuzi inatukera, na ile kazi yote tumefanya inatutia wasiwasi.
Now, away from security, the 2023 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examinations kick off on Monday, the 23rd of October, through to Friday, the 24th of November. Candidates will sit the exams between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. This year, the Ministry of Education will implement the new examination grading system where only 2 mandatory subjects, namely mathematics and 1 language, will be required in computing the mean grade. Our reporter, Regina Range, with a breakdown of the KCSE exams calendar.
The Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examination will commence with French, German, Arabic, Kenya Sign Language and Music orals, which will be administered on the first week of the exams between Monday 23rd and Friday 27th October. The second week between Monday 30th October to Friday 3rd November will see the candidates undertake practicals in home science, food and nutrition, art and design, woodwork and computer studies. The candidates will equally be tested on theory on the third week between Monday 6th to Friday 10th November, with the chemistry and English functional skill papers on Monday, followed by mathematics on Tuesday, whereas on Wednesday they will write the chemistry paper 2 and English composition papers, while Kiswahili Lugha and Insha will be done on Thursday and the chemistry practical on Friday. The candidates who continue with their writing exams on the fourth week between Monday 13th to Friday 17th November, starting with Mathematics Paper 2 and Kiswahili Paper 2, then Christian Religious Education, Islamic Religious Education, and Biology papers, then Christian Religious Education Paper 2, Hindu Religious Education, History and Government Paper 1, as well as Biology and History and Government Paper 2. The week will conclude with Biology practicals. The KCSE exam will conclude on the week between Monday 20th to Friday 24th with Geography, Physics, Business Studies, Agriculture, Geography Paper 2, Physics Paper 2, Business Studies Paper 2, Agriculture Paper 2, and Physics practicals. About 900,000 candidates will sit the KCSE examination. Doreen Arange for Sunday Express.
Well, as KCSE commences Monday, the 23rd, we're expecting the rehearsals to be taking place for KCP on the 27th, which happens to be next week. All the best to all the candidates who are going to be sitting their various examinations. Now, in the heart of higher learning institutions where the laughter of students is a commonplace and the pursuit of knowledge is ever present, there exists a silent threat. A silent battle that rages on, a battle that is often overlooked. Its triggers range from pressures to excel in campus, peer influence or peer pressure, which often weighs heavily within the minds of students. A silent threat that in some cases has resulted in students committing suicide, while others get caught up in a love triangle that ends in tragedy. Tonight, we shed light on the silent threat as told by John Kahiro, who shares some of the silent struggles campus students endure.
On 10th October, Kenya joined the world in marking World Mental Health Awareness Day under the theme Mental Health is a Universal Human Right, a theme that rings true to many who continue to grapple with mental illness in silence. It is also a reality for students on campus amid academic pressures and social expectations. Mental ailments often lurk in the background, unnoticed and unaddressed. The stigma surrounding mental ailments forces a majority of students to remain silent, which amplifies their struggles. In the outskirts of Kisumu County, meet Isaac, a psychology student at one of the universities in the region. Beneath his cool demeanor lies a tale of struggle. His battle with pornography addiction, introduced to him by a close friend, will make his life go downhill.
Alinipatia simu yake na mimi nikampatia yangu. So while I was going through the videos, that's where I came upon this video, like, you know, the pornography video. Hapo ndo nilianza kuziona.
As he descended into the grip of addiction, isolation became his closest companion, locking him away from friends and family.
It felt like zenye naona they are not satisfying me the way nilikuwa napata ile thrill, the stimulation I used to get. So I opted out to, you know, making it real. Niache kushinda nikiwatch video. I'm not even helping people close to me. Hata sitaki kujua vile wamelala ama vile wameamka ama anything. No. And then that numbness, I felt an emotional numbness because I could not connect with people. Like say opposite gender.
This will later plunge him into the brink of suicidal thoughts.
It was just like a voice telling me, like, you don't deserve to live anymore, my brother. Chakula huwezi jinunulia, all you can do is watch pornography. And now you are here, what are you even doing? Like, I felt like I had no purpose, I had nothing else. And I had some laser blades on the table. So I took one out of nowhere and I slashed my wrist here. Nikaona hapa ni kama damu mingi itoki. So I slashed here. Okay? So nilijikata mara mbili, like on a very fast pace. I was so sure that after that I'm going to die. I also started like trying to find a purpose for my life.
His journey from the depths of addiction to the heights of empathy resonates with his fellow students. He is now using his story blended with professional knowledge to impact the lives of his fellow students. Isaac's ordeal is just the tip of the iceberg of the myriad of challenges young people face.
Someone comes to school and they find that they left home with some other burden, like there was something still scratching the family.
Students have now a common call of endurance in the tough journey to success.
It's up to us to appreciate the little that we have and also to speak out. It's not a problem shared, it's a problem half solved.
Ms. Wambei Abishag, a psychological counselor at the Kenya Institute of Professional Counseling, in what she terms as a torn societal fabric, associates depression among youth and especially campus students to failure of opening up in times of distress.
The young people have trust issues with authority. So when somebody is suffering or facing sadness, depression or loss, they don't know who to run to.
According to Ambei, some of the signs of depression include low self-esteem, difficulty in making decisions, and continuous low mood or sadness, among others, which she says may result in suicidal thoughts if unchecked. Calls have also been made to stakeholders, including parents, to join efforts to speak about mental illness amid concerns over increased cases of suicide and death at institutions of higher learning.
Comradeship is strength. Let's talk it out.
Comradeship is brotherhood. Let us speak it out.
Ultimately, it's a call to action to higher learning institutions, students and society at large to prioritize the mental well-being of these young dreamers as they pursue their higher education. John Kahiro, KBC Channel 1, Kisumu.
John Kahiro sets the pace of our conversation tonight as we talk about how to deal with trauma amid rising cases of suicide. So do keep it right here. But for now, our fast breather, we have so much lined up for you, including what has been happening in the sporting arena. Do not go away.
All holders are notified to report and surrender unclaimed financial assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority UFAA on or before November 1st, 2023. It is now easier to report and surrender. Visit www.ufaa.go.ke and get started. Beat the November 1st deadline. It is your turn to surrender and report qualifying unclaimed financial assets. Pass the baton. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Tuache kudanganyana. Hapa mali safi, mali mbichi, kijani kibichi. Tuko Lucky Game. Tunashibishana. Dial *570 hash. Chagua sanduku ya Lucky Game. Utapata sanduku 7 zinakungoja mahali pale. Chagua yako. Mali kibao, tuko na viti, tuko na vifriji hapa, tuko na TV, tuko na microwave na pia tuko na chapa. All happening kwa *570 hash. Jishibishe.
Giza giza tutafanya lile tendo, washamaliza ngatembo, kinachofuata ni skendo.
Kichwa wangu si kubwa.
Shika ujaribu, ujaribu.
Kichwa wangu si kubwa. Hii kitu inaweza toshea.
Monday to na sere tukimada repeat it. Leo tunakunywa hadi tutoke kwa news. Aya, hola.
Na imagine ilikuwa ni ngoma na ilia hapo kuna chomeka. Ni mbaya. Alafu mtu anacheka.
Wazima moto.
Hello. Niaje bro? Ni Sami Kioko ule ulikuwa unanipeleka Churchill. Ebu nikukol.
Mambo nakuwa yege. Mambo nakuwa lombo, yani mambo nakuwa bravo.
From 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Catch the Chipukizi Show live.
And indeed, glad that you still tuned. Welcome to Sunday Express Sports. I'm Bernard Okumu. Let's begin with athletics, where former World Half Marathon silver winner Kibiwot Kandie and 2022 World 10,000 meters bronze medalist Margaret Chelimo are the winners of this year's edition of Valencia Half Marathon held today in Spain. Now, Kandie retained his title after clocking 57 minutes and 40 seconds as Ethiopia's pair of Hagod Gebrhiwet and Yomif Kejelcha completed the podium dash. His triumph followed last year's victory on the same course, where he clocked 58 minutes and 10 seconds to claim his second title in Spain since his debut in 2020. In the ladies category, 2022 World 10,000 meters bronze winner Margaret Chelimo took charge of the women's race in a time of 1 hour and 4 minutes as Commonwealth Games 10,000 meters silver winner Irene Cheptai and Jen Chepngetich took the second and third places respectively. This was Chelimo's first race since the beginning of the month, when she clinched silver in the women's half marathon at the World Road Running Championship in Riga, Latvia. And to soccer now, where Kakamega Homeboys registered a hard-fought 1-0 victory over Nzoia Sugar in FKF PL match played Sunday at Sudi Stadium in Bungoma.
Kenyan international Moses Shuma scored a winning goal for the visiting Kakamega Homeboys in an hour mark, which the side protected to the end of the match. Following the win, Homeboys sits fifth on the standing with 11 points. In another result, Kariobangi Sharks were held to a 1-1 draw by Muhoroni Youths at Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani. Defending champions Gor Mahia defeated former champions Tusker FC 1-0, where Bandari beat AFC Leopards 1-0. King Orimwangi for Sunday Express.
And to Women's Premier League, where Gaspo secured their first win of the season with a 1-0 victory over Bungoma Queens in the FKF Women's Premier League match played on Sunday at Steamer Grounds here in Nairobi. In another result, Zitex Sparks beat Bunyore Starlets 4-0.
Charge of the game from the onset, missing several chances, but in the 47th minute, Emily Okute scored the lone goal, assuring Gaspo all 3 points.
Anaanza ndefu, anafanya makosa tena, hatari katika lango Emily, hatari go. This game unajua safari na kwa mrefu. So I think tulipata chances hatukuzitumia, walipata chance moja wakaitumia. Ndio hivyo, Mwenyezi Mungu yote pia tunashukuru.
Ziko mingi sana side zetu, pia tunaweza sema hivyo. Pia side zao pia kuna makosa mingi, wamepata chances watu waja utilize. But kitu makosa nimepata sisi sana ni scoring na lose of concentration ndaka kidogo.
In another match, Zitex Sparks beat Bunyore Starlets 4-0 in an entertaining match played at the Imani Stadium.
And to Rugby World Cup, where England fell agonizingly short of a supreme upset in the 5th Rugby World Cup final, as South Africa came on strong to snatch a 16-15 victory in Paris during their semi-final last night. England were canny and committed in the first half, raining down kicks into the South Africa backfield, forcing a steady supply of penalties. Owen Farrell converted 4 to send his side into the break with a 12-6 lead. The Springboks chopped and changed their lineup after the break, but a Farrell drop goal edged England further clear and to the brink of a seismic shock. However, an RG Snyman try 10 minutes from time cut the underdogs lead to 15-13 before the Boks crammed power and Henry Pollard the match-winning penalty in the 77th minute. South Africa will now defend their title against New Zealand in the final on October 28th.
That ball's gone forward at the breakdown, and there it is. There it is.
And Burundi became the 100th country to implement FIFA's Football for Schools program after the World Football Governing Body led by its president Gianni Infantino launched the event at Urunani Stadium in Buganda, Bujumbura. Now, the ceremony took place in the presence of the Burundi Minister of East Africa Community Affairs, Youth, Sports and Culture, Gavei Abiyeho, and the President of the Football Federation of Burundi, Alexander Muyenge, FIFA Chief of Global Football Development, Arsene Wenger, and Chairman of FIFA Referees Committee, Pierluigi Collina, were also part of the FIFA delegation. Now, Football for Schools aims to make the game more accessible to young people by incorporating football activities into the education system. Now, supported by UNESCO, the program contributes to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by empowering children. And well, on that note, where FIFA did launch their 100th program, FIFA for Schools, Football for Schools program in Burundi. That's how we end tonight's edition of Sports on Sunday Express. I'm Bernardo Kumu. Thank you so much for watching.
Mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
Mungu awabariki sana.
Ni wengi wanakushukuru bila hata wewe kufahamu.
Niliona Mungu wa ajabu ameshuka.
Ni wengi wanaokuaminia.
yangu imejaa, imebaki, yani I'm just happy.
Ni wengi wanaokuombea ushindi.
Hawa ndio niachiwe na mama yao wakati aliwajeka kwa muda.
Ni wengi unaowagusa kwa kuwapa afueni na imani ya maisha.
Asante na Mungu akubariki pia.
Ni wengi unawatembelea.
Through hii program ndo tunajua vitu zingine.
Na imani yako inawapa amani.
Akaaga juu ya kansa.
Ushindi wako ni wa wengi.
Roma niendanga, Roma.
Asante mchezaji wa Loto Moto.
All holders are notified to report and surrender unclaimed financial assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFAA, on or before November 1st, 2023.
Before the end of the night, boy, when you are par with weed, a good time is guaranteed.
Bones. Hop, skip your enemy there. Sing your one from left to right, and know the saga mad there.
Pass the baton. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Good evening. You're still watching Sunday Express, and tonight, let's start off with some grim statistics, so to speak. The latest report indicates that 62% of Kenyans have no source of income, while 42% of Kenyans are now considering themselves borrowers. This is an increase from 40% that was before 2019. 53% of those who are currently employed have worry and are concerned about losing their current jobs. This is according to the latest Consumer Insight report. Why are we talking about the statistics? It's because Kenya's suicide rate is rated among the highest in Africa, where 11 people out of a population of 100,000 actually is suicidal. Tonight's conversation is about how to deal with trauma in regard to what we are experiencing, the high cost of living, and also stories that have been making headlines, especially the demolition of those homes in Mavoko there. And to take us through this conversation is none other than Dr. Margaret Njuguna, a counseling psychologist. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
A story there by John Kahiro has just highlighted the struggles that campus students are going through. It maybe possibly depicts where we are in as far as mental health as a country is concerned. But then when you talk about trauma, I know and I understand it's two-pronged. There's physical and there's the emotional aspect. Let's delve into the emotional aspect. Okay. How would I know if I am dealing with trauma on an individual capacity?
Okay, number one, trauma is where you have gone through a stressful situation, and a lot of times it becomes trauma when you are unable to deal with it. We can face the same situation, but I'm able to deal with it because I have the resources that I need, and another person will struggle to deal with it because they do not have the resources they need. Some of the symptoms of trauma include reliving the situation. You feel like it's going through again and again. For example, let's say it's a rape. You feel like it's happening again. The other thing is it could also include physical symptoms like sweating, either when there's a trigger, maybe you see a man, you feel like now this is happening again, there's sweating, there is inability to eat well, inability to sleep well, a lot of emotions, the headache, stomachache, all those kind can actually be associated with that.
Is it also where we have panic attacks?
Yes, especially when a person feels like they are being exposed to a situation like that led to that kind of experience. For example, let's say for the people who their homes have been demolished, every time people talk about a title deed, they may feel like it's a trigger, and they may want to feel like they may actually sweat. They may actually start breathing harder because that is something that reminds them of a loss that they have not been able to deal with. Yeah.
Looking at the statistics here, over 50% of Kenya's population is worried over one thing or the other. You know, job loss, catering to their family, loss of providers, parents, and such. But then, how do we cope with this? Because this is the situation we find ourselves in, and borrowing effectively from the mental awareness task force that was set up some years back. How do we cope?
Number one, the most important thing is to prevent what you can. For example, become aware of areas where you have been vulnerable or you have found yourself in trouble, so you prevent what you can. The other thing is to ensure that you have holistic health taken care of. A lot of times we assume that mental struggles are just mental struggles alone, but your body and your spirituality are also part of what helps you to fight and cope with the issues that you face in life. For example, when it comes to spirituality, it dictates to you what you can and can't do to be able to get an end. For example, let's say for the students in school, you know that your spirituality tells you you cannot steal. So you will not use stealing or cheating as an avenue to be able to get an education. So our spirituality comes through to help us make the choices that will also help us live a good life and a dignified life.
So you're talking about grounding.
Grounding.
So if you're grounded spiritually, it might actually ease or rather direct how to deal with this.
Yes.
But then we're dealing with a generation Generation Z, where spirituality, is far from, their focus in life. And looking at the statistics, they're the ones who are dealing with daily pressures, especially where social media comes in. So then what anchors them to deal and cope with these societal pressures and avoid, thoughts of depression and even ultimately taking their own lives?
One of the things is that we cannot run away from spirituality. So we need to rethink our status, and we also need to rethink our belief system. I'm not talking about spirituality about a particular religion. Yes. I'm talking about beliefs about life. Your own life, other people's life, the choices you make, the meaning of life, so that you can be able to know, how do I get to what I want and use my own means? How do I create a path that I can follow and feel good about it? Because some of the situations you find people coming to therapy for, it's out of guilt. You did something, you're not happy about it, and you come to therapy room talking about you don't know how you're feeling, only to end up realizing that you're guilty of something. The other thing is to become conscious about the choices we make, to ensure that whatever choices you're making is not because other people are making, it's because you identify with the choices. So we need to become deliberate in the choices we are making. Are we asking ourselves, do I feel comfortable in this? So I feel we need to become aware of the way we spend our time will dictate the way we live our lives. So we need to actually come up with a routine that we identify with, so that we can factor in everything that we hold dear or matters to us.
Now, Daktari, when is suicide actually an option?
Suicide. One of the things I actually say about suicide is that it can become an option if we continue looking at this as an option.
Enculturation.
We
accept it's okay.
Yes, and that is why it's a dangerous trend. We need to come up with ways that people can be able to deal with the situations they are finding themselves. And one of the things I say is that knowledge and skills, the skills to be able to, for example, negotiation skills. When children are going to high school, even at university, has somebody deliberately taught them how to negotiate their way out of situations? So we need to give them skills that they can use to get themselves out of trouble. They can be able to negotiate. They can be assertive to an extent where they can be able to get really what they want. So I think we are lacking in terms of deliberate effort to give the children necessary skills that they can use when they are faced with a situation where they need to use them. Yeah.
Now, you've talked about, suicide, and looking at the suicide cases, if we are having 11 out of 100 people, among that 11 people, we're also finding that we are having children committing suicide. This is something we never heard of 20 years back, but now it's a sad reality that we're dealing with. We are headed into the national examinations come next week. We've had a series of, unrest within various schools. We've had children having hysteria and such, panic and such. How can then, avoid the ultimate, paying the ultimate price, especially where children are concerned? Can we have these conversations on student side, as you've said, negotiating getting to get themselves out of trouble?
One of the things where we have failed in society today is actually not recognizing that children cannot be able to digest the information they are exposed to. When it comes to social media, it does not segregate who is watching. As long as you have the phone, you can watch everything. So it is important for us, those people who are parents and those who have children under their care, to ensure that children can get somebody to help them digest what is going on, so that they can be helped to separate that which is okay and that which is not okay. Because children may watch TV and see people are taking their own lives, and they'll become curious. They will Google and they'll see, how do you go about it? What can I do? In what situations are people taking their lives when they fail? And because failure has become a catastrophe even at family level, the parents are not addressing, when you fail, what can you do? Do you make it a lesson, or is it a catastrophe or a disaster? I think we are not also addressing the issues that could help our children understand how they can be able to live life. Remember, children, they are growing in terms of personality. Their spiritual development is happening, and so they may incorporate some of these happenings in their personality development and in their spirituality, and they may not be able to differentiate like adults because they've been socialized to know that suicide is an option. So that is a danger. And we are likely, if we don't do anything differently, we are likely to see a higher rise of children taking their own lives, because nobody told them it is not an option. Our parents are busy. Everybody is busy trying to do something here and there. And that is why nobody is there, even when during news, to tell them this is not an option. This is what somebody could have done. If it was a failure, go to your parents, talk about it, and see what options are available. But
capacity building among the children. Have those candid conversations. Yeah. We are not there to filter what it is that they're taking in.
Yes.
But then there are those who have attempted suicide. There are cases where you hear someone, and these are triggers, especially within the family setup, and it goes like, ukiniacha nitajiua. Or if it is not me, it is not anyone else. This is someone actually who's saying they'll take your life and take their own. At what point do we take such statements, such utterances seriously?
From a professional point of view, the slip of the tongue is communication.
The slip of the tongue is communication.
Is communication.
Good.
So we need to remember anything that has been said is coming from somewhere. And that is why we need not to take anything for granted. So whatever you hear, you need to explore further to be able to understand, where is it coming from? What can I do to make it better for you? Can we talk about it? Can we seek help? We need not to ignore anything. So it is important for us to begin listening, because we are not a listening nation. We like to speak. So you'll see somebody speaking before you finish your sentence, and so they are not answering your question, or they are not even talking about your statement. They are talking about themselves. So it is important for us to listen more, even to the children, to the vulnerable populations, and even to each other, so that we can be able to know what is going on in your space and what is going on in my space. And what can I do to make it better for you? And what can you do to make it better for me? So we need to listen more than we speak.
Listen more.
Yes.
Now, what happens in the case? I'm trying to look at a situation where someone attempted suicide. It is already criminalized in the country, in the laws of the land. They attempted suicide and they survived. How do we help them get back on the right path?
Number one, we need to acknowledge that when it comes to hopelessness and a point where you feel you want to take your life, there are several options. It could be you take your own life, you take another person's life because there's nothing to lose. You take your own life and take several other people who are not even affected by the whole situation. So this person who decides to take their own life, and maybe it was an attempt, we need first of all to understand at what point in time did they get there. So we need first of all to hear them out. We need, not judgmentally, because when we judge them, we criminalize it, then again we are going to close them out. So we need to listen to them. We need to understand how they got there. We need to know what they were struggling with, so that we can be able to address, and then we can be able to help them know the other options that they can use. We also need to support them. We also need to remember that they could have chosen even to take another person's life, but they actually decided, I would rather go out rather than take somebody
Someone
out.
else.
Because a lot of times you may realize somebody could be taking their own life because of maybe a heartbreak. So I feel like we need to know, by the time a person decides, I want to go, and I don't even know where I'm going, but I want to go there,
it's because
there's a big issue. And
Daktari, hate to cut this short, is that we have special programming where we're going to be heading into the Super League there. This is a conversation that we're definitely going to carry on, given the current statistics that we're dealing with. 11 of, within the statistics, we have 11 people among 100,000 people are suicidal in Kenya. And these are the highest numbers within Africa. We have been speaking to none other than Margaret Njuguna, who is a counseling psychologist. And my take home, and I hope yours too, is that every slip of the tongue is communication. I'm Regina Manyara. You're watching Sunday Express. To keep it right here.
Mjisqueeze hapo watano kusqueeze. Hapana. Maybe excess. Nini wewe shughulika na steering, mimi niko huko nyuma na watu. Unavuja sheria bwana. Tutashikwa na makarao.
Usalama barabarani ni jukumu letu sote. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na the European Union.
Jumbo, here's how to make payments to the Kenya Wildlife Service on the eCitizen platform. Log on to